All right, one more. Hello, everyone. Today we're going to go over social isolation and coping tools. My name is Matthew Castillo. I was in the Marine Corps from 2013 to 17. Currently, I'm a battle buddy with the Veteran Peer Access Network. Currently, I'm also enrolled at USC to get my master's in social work. A short-term goal for me is to get my master's and to start working in the career field. A long-term goal is to get my license and as a clinical social worker and to direct programs to further assist our veteran community. I'll let Brock introduce himself.
Great, thank you, Matt. Like Matt said, I'm Brock Milhorn. Served in the U.S. Navy from 2004 to 2008. I am currently a new addition to the VPAN team, JVS VPAN team, SD5. I'm a battle buddy there, loving every second of it so far. I'm currently pursuing my BA in business management from Vanguard University in Costa Mesa, where I moved fairly recently. And then a little bit about myself. Excuse me. Myself and my best friend are founding members of the Foxhole Theater Company, recently a 501c3. That I'll get into that a little bit at the end when we kind of discuss our own examples and what we're kind of involved in. But I also host the Foxhole podcast, part of the Foxhole Theater Company, where we just let veterans tell their stories their way. And so far it's proven to be a good outlet, especially during COVID. And short-term goal is to acquire a master's in film and directing, producing, and further my career obviously with VPAN as well. Just opening up more opportunities for the veteran community. But I'll let Matthew take it away.
Yeah. So it's just a disclaimer that we're not licensed counselors, clinicians, doctors, or any type of experts. Everything we're going to talk about today is just off our own lived experience. Also, we wanted to put in the veteran crisis line here. So we have the number, the 1-800-273-8255. Press 1. If you don't feel comfortable calling, you can text 838-255. If you don't want to text and you want to chat online, you can go to veterancrisisline.net, or obviously you can go to your local VA for assistance. So some of the covered topics that we're going to go over is what is social isolation, signs of social isolation, how it affects us veterans. Brock, he's going to go over coping resources and tools for veterans, alternative therapy, nature exercise therapy, and we'll both go over personal examples. So to start on what is social isolation and or withdrawal, it could be either two things. It could be physically or emotionally. They usually go hand in hand. If a veteran is physically isolating, then they're going to isolate or withdraw by avoiding people, family, close friends, and they're going to be by themselves more often than not, or at least more than there usually are. Emotionally is when a person is unwilling or unable to share their feelings with others, especially with the people that they normally do share their emotions with, like families and close friends and those they trust. And that's when they isolate or withdraw emotionally. So signs, thoughts and actions of isolation and withdrawal. So one sign would be if you're increasingly spending more time alone because you think no one understands what you experienced or what you're going through. A lot of veterans do this. They isolate or withdraw when they're transitioning from the military to civilian life. A lot of times they're doing this because, only 1% of the population is joining the military. So there's just a select few of people that will understand what they're going through. So if they get out and they go to their hometown and, most of them are civilians and not military or veterans, they're not going to understand what they're going through. And the veteran is going to start to withdraw and isolate, or they could. Also avoiding others because you feel you should be able to deal with the challenges on your own. And another action or thought is you lost interest in activities that you normally enjoy. Other thoughts and actions would be um, socially isolating individuals lack emotional interaction. So they're becoming numb to their own feelings, they're detaching from their own emotions. An individual or a veteran will avoid social situations because they're afraid it might remind them of something that they're trying to forget. And as well, the COVID pandemic here lately has not assisted any veteran or any civilian for that matter in isolating. If a veteran was transitioning and maybe they're making progress, the COVID pandemic could have brought back their progress, or if they were already isolating, the pandemic might have, worsened their symptoms. How it affects us, it can affect us mentally, and it can obviously affect our relationships and our behaviors. Um, Isolation is linked to depression. It is also linked to other psychiatric problems like a person's health, self-esteem, and it could lead to suicide ideation. It can also affect their relationships with people because they're not expressing themselves. They don't want to be around people, so their relationships can go down. And that can also lead to alcohol or drug use and also issues sleeping. Isolation can also affect our social connection. We have a quote here from a physician at the VA in Portland, and it's just talking about social connections. It's when people, veterans, are cutting off from others, whether they are truly socially isolated and are alone or just feel isolated are alone. That is when they're going to be disconnecting with their normal social network, and it's going to affect their well-being. It's going to affect their relationships and their roles as a person, whether they're a parent, a partner, a child, a friend, a caregiver, coworker, a peer, whatever they are. It'll affect all these roles, and that will affect their well-being as a person. Some VA support that veterans can turn to. If a veteran is dealing with PTSD, MST, military sexual trauma is MST, depression, grief, coping tools, substance abuse, anxiety. If any of these are becoming issues along with the isolation, veterans can go to the VA for assistance. It's just seeking that help and going to get it is it can be an issue for some of us because that vulnerability is tough to get past. And I'll let Brock take it from here.
Matt, yeah, that's the mental health. So I'll be getting into coping strategies and how to combat loneliness and chronic loneliness, social loneliness. And there's obviously covered the whole spectrum of types and how to recognize it. But our first, we're all familiar with these graphics and these statistics breaking down mental health and the barriers and the stigmas that we face. But only this is an interesting stat. Of the 30% of active duty reserve personnel that have come out as having mental or mental health problems, only half of them actually receive any mental health or go forward with that sort of the treatment. But it's our first avenue for combating it is ourselves, really, and checking in. And I just thought these were some interesting tools and barriers that we can break. Thanks, Matt. We're all familiar with the mental health stigma, mental health among the veteran community. We've long fought the stigmas that seeking help is weak or talking about traumatic events is something that you just keep to yourselves. We've grown past that. There's a lot more documentation and research on mental health and why it's at the forefront of our community in particular. But while we continue to deal with COVID, physical distancing has really put us, it's become part of our daily fabric everywhere we go. But we also have to switch our mindset when we start feeling that spiral or that isolation or that sort of claustrophobic feeling like the world's kind of coming around you, it's good to just kind of take these steps, check in with yourself. One thing I thought really was beneficial was the term, don't look at it as social distancing. Look at it as distant socializing. So still put in the work to maintain those lasting relationships, those things that interest you, those hobbies, those things that you're passionate about outside of your work schedule, because we can get caught up in that really quickly. And then basically just to rework the mindset every day, just like you're making your bed. Reflect and connect. And I think this is a cool tool because you are able to respect and pay honor and maybe get through some tough memories, but the connect portion allows you an out, allows you to talk about it with somebody, a mentor, somebody that you trust, like Matt was talking about earlier. Surrounding yourself with those people that are going to sometimes give you the hard truth, but that are not going to leave. They're not going to leave your side. They're not going to, they'll always be watching your six. So those people are great to kind of do that with. So reflect and connect on where you've come, where you're at now. You still have lungs, breath in your lungs. Anything's possible. You know what I mean? And then lastly, develop and maintain healthy routines. We fight the stigma a lot in the military community that we self-medicate. Self-medication is a large thing. Alcohol abuse, dependency on other substances. It comes with the territory because we try to fix things ourselves so often. But we really need that lifeline, and by creating healthy routines, and we'll kind of go through some of the alternative therapy methods and things that we're all aware of, but are definitely resources that are out there to be had to make the connection and become a whole version of yourself, outside of isolation or COVID. And this is a good resource as well. We found this just kind of doing research. The mental health check, the mental health first aid is called mentalhealthfirstaid.org. /veterans-military. It provides veterans and caregivers a certification in mental health first aid. So much like you would get a first aid certificate for CPR or what have you. This is a similar thing. You can actually get certified to recognize those signs, and not just for the benefit of others around you or a fellow veteran, but for yourself, really, to kind of recognize the signs of, I'm not feeling 100%, current present right now. That's a big word. I'm getting in too much into my head. You can kind of figure out where those things are coming from and kind of nip the spiral effect in the bud, so to speak. And these are just some other tools and resources just offhand that most of us are aware of. The DMH, Department of Mental Health Access Center. There's a 1-800 number right there, 845-7771. They operate 24 hours a day, 24/7. Includes deployment crisis evaluation teams and information and referrals for if you are a concerned family member or a concerned family member needs to reach out on behalf of a veteran. They can certainly do that there. And then VPAN, obviously, a Veteran Peer Access Network. We're at the forefront of connecting veterans and family members to resources is what we do, but it's so much more than that with the peer support, housing, employment, and then sometimes, and we'll get into this later as well, I've found oftentimes you run into veterans who just want to have a listening ear and just want to talk to somebody. And oftentimes that's really what it equates to. You're solely providing a service of just being a wall to bounce things off of, and give advice where it's appropriate and due. But I feel like that's in the fabric of our everyday work life with VPAN and when serving veterans. So continued tools and resources that are not necessarily California based, but do have a lot of do have roots pretty much everywhere you'll go. community-based organizations we're all aware of. MVP is a great one, and I'll talk about that a little bit later as well. The American Legion, VFW. What's great about these organizations is not only do they create a space to socialize with other veterans, they're really like a first step into integrating yourself within a community. And I love that each American Legion or VFW kind of takes on the spirit or the identity of its community. And I just find it to be incredibly, not just resourceful, but just a great place to feel that camaraderie and feel, proud of your service, but also get a perspective on maybe how some of the older generation did things, younger generation, et cetera. So it's a pretty great resource for that. And then obviously DAV for disabled veterans is an amazing resource, the Vet Center. And then if you need more information, there are quite a few websites that we haven't necessarily posted here, but that we have access to that are available in our sort of repertoire of great places to go to find organizations like them. So we'll get into alternative therapy, and this is kind of at the forefront of, it's incredibly topical at the moment. With COVID came, restrictions to, where you go, what you do on a daily basis, especially when we were all quarantined in our houses. Gaming really opened up a lot of doors, especially gamers of a younger generation, including, if you've been around since computers and you have seen the Nintendo, you understand how gaming and that industry has really changed the way we do a lot of things. But this organization, in particular, Stack Up, it's basically the veteran gaming community. Some members of our team at VPAN have been really fortunate to be connected with them and receive services, and they just do some awesome things. Organization comprised of veterans and active duty members, and it just provides a platform for the military community to share in love of gaming and use it as a form of therapy as well. Currently over 4,000 members. You can't really go wrong. And it provides, like I said before, it provides a lot of tools for veterans during hardships, whether they're transitioning, and they do offer some cool resources, not just strictly to gaming, but also to like mentorship type stuff and getting yourself off your feet and connected. So this is one that's close to home, and I'll talk about this at the very end. Another form of alternative therapy, it's fairly new, is drama or improv therapy. And this basically just helps, it's helped a lot of veterans, including myself, get out of, maybe put on the characterization of a previous experience or something traumatic that may have happened, but it gives veterans a chance to kind of get out there and put their foot out there for acting and see it kind of change the way that they look at pretty much the world itself. But organizations like Armed Services Arts Partnership, they connect vets through improv comedy classes, free of charge, acting, dancing, singing. They pretty much cover it all. We have the website posted there. The Foxhole Theater Company I'll talk about later. That's something that myself and my Marine buddy started due to his love for theater that just kind of sparked, but I'll talk about that later. And then the Foxhole podcast as well. And then VME. VME is a big in the entertainment industry out here in LA. They do a lot of workshops. They do a lot of they do classes, online classes. I know they've done a lot of Zoom stuff over the past 2 years, but they offer a lot of resources for veterans that are trying to get in the entertainment industry, whether it be camera work or name something, and there's usually somebody there to connect with. So for a really good resource as well, local, and I know they meet regularly out of Post 43, the American Legion Post 43 in Hollywood. Nature therapy. This is nature and exercise therapy. This is obviously something that's close to everybody. We've all rucked, we've all been on long hikes, and we've all we all understand that the connection with nature and the connection we have with the earth is incredibly valuable, but even more so when you're feeling lonely, when those loneliness and that sort of um, oppressive sort of claustrophobia kind of comes in on you. The best thing obviously is to check in with yourself, do all that. But being in nature, at least personally for me, has been one of those things that's a game changer, especially during COVID. They can't close the outdoors. So you gotta reconnecting with outdoors and nature really helps people kind of reset everything. But these are some examples of some nature therapy groups throughout Southern California and some of our neighboring states. But you have the Sierra Club, which is a national organization. They have clubs and online groups everywhere where they schedule a weekly hike somewhere, and it's broken down by city. So we have the information, the website information for them if you need it. X Sports for Vets, really cool off-roading ATV type stuff. It just provides a way for vets to experience some of these adventurous things if they're qualified. Adventure Vet, this is a really cool one in Utah, based in Utah, that they do all sorts of stuff. They'll do horseback riding, they'll take rafting trips, ATV, also it really runs the gamut. So really incredible resource there as well if you can connect with them. And then an example like Shadow Hills Riding Club, where they offer equestrian therapy, horse therapy for veterans, and creating that community. And then we'll just briefly touch on exercise therapy. The Million Veteran Project MVP, the first MVP, they offer workout and exercise center groups, yoga, MMA, boxing. There's quite a few things through that organization that you can plug into and kind of stretch yourself, so to speak. The Warrior Surf Foundation, I'll touch on this in just a minute too in our own examples, but I was able to interview the Marine veteran who started Warrior Surf Foundation as a way for himself to really connect with the ocean again and deal with his post-traumatic stress. But since has grown this into a huge thing where he is now able to give free surf lessons to disabled veterans, amputees, ranging all sorts of skill levels. So he's really doing some amazing stuff. So that's warriorsurf.org. And then emerging vets and players, which we touched on a minute ago, connects professional athletes with veterans and their families, and share their love of the game and create those lasting, meaningful relationships. And that's really what it's all about. But we're all aware of quite a few of these, and they're all doing some really amazing work with the veteran community, but that can all really, really benefit you if you're feeling lonely, or you feel that isolation sort of creep in on you. There's always an answer. Yeah, so we'll get into examples from our own personal lives. Matt, did you want to touch on that first?
Yeah, I'll go first. So I guess an example for me in my life, I kind of struggled with isolation when I was first transitioning out of the Marine Corps. Being in the Marine Corps, we had our duties every day. We had something to do every day. We had this, we had that, there was nothing, there was never a day that there was nothing to do. There was always something to do, whether it was at that time it felt pointless or not. We had something to do. It was never any downtime really. Even if there was, it still kind of wasn't. There was always a sense of direction. Getting out of the Marine Corps and just kind of being in the civilian life, there's no one there to tell you like, okay, we're doing this today, we're doing that. So it's really a struggle with a sense of direction and how to go about life. And if you don't have a good mentor, if you're not with your fellow veterans or some close friends that you trust, then I definitely felt a sense of isolation, being alone, being not understood, because all my friends back home were not veterans for the most part. I had like maybe one, but and you really feel like you can't share what you're going through because they're not going to understand. And I actually had my brother assist me. My brother, he was also in the Marine Corps. He retired in 2014, and I was still brand new to the Marine Corps at that time. And I guess him getting out in 2014, he had his own experience with transition and his own problems he had to deal with. And my problems and issues were, they were different, but I think he had somewhat of a similar experience. And after a couple years and being able to open up and being ready for almost like another transition to something better, um, he really assisted me on getting on my feet. So for me, connecting with my brother, who was also a veteran, and then starting to work in this veteran community, veteran services, assisting other veterans, I started building relationships with other veterans that had similar ideas and goals as I did. And I mean, that just really helped me. So for me, being with other like minded veterans that kind of wanted the same thing, building relationships, that really helped me with my transition. And yeah, that's me. How about you, Brock?
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Matt. Yeah, I think what's the through line and what connects us here with every veteran is it's a it's an incredibly small fraternity of individuals that signed their name and did their time, however long it might have been, but the similarities between the transitional process and the a lot of difficulties we face are similar throughout the military. And what's definitely hard about that is you feel like nobody, on the civilian side, even some members of your family will understand what it is you saw, what it is you went through, the little inside jokes that you shared with your friends, with your buddies with my buddies on the flight deck, just the day-to-day life that abruptly stops, and then you're expected to transition and become a contributing member. But the best part of the transition, like you were alluding to a little bit, Matt, was finding that mentor and finding a person who had been through it, who had come through and gone through and come out the other side successful, and not without bumps and bruises and learning curves for sure. But that's why vet centers are such a good resource. That's why these organizations are really excellent right now, because even if we have to be quarantined to our homes, we still can build that camaraderie based on a shared history of service. And I know with mentors for me, if I hadn't, if a veteran hadn't helped me out, when I was living out of my car, there would be, and that's straight from it. It's like, if you've been in someone's shoes, you have to at least try to, you find that common ground and you build the trust off of that. And I think a lot of veterans, at least personally in my own experience, that issue of trust is everything. To be able to trust someone with the information or your own personal experience is everything. And I think if we kind of branch out and keep keep our focus and our goal to be to regain that trust amongst each other and with the civilian community, with our civilian counterparts, it'll really make the difference, because no one wants to be left behind. We don't want to leave anybody behind. And I certainly can speak from experience that if I didn't have that help up and that battle buddy sort of check in, it would have been I could have just kept spiraling. So it is super important, isolation as a whole, and loneliness. And yeah, if you, like Matt and I were talking about, it's like if you need to talk to someone, there is somebody in your Rolodex of people, I'm sure, that you can reach out to, and the resources are right there. So
Yeah. Thank you, Brock. Again, we have the VA line, text, and online chat and also always visit your local VA. These are our references, just so you know, we're not sitting here making all this up. We have
Yeah.
some references that we got information from. And then if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comment section. If you're already linked with VPAN, get with your local battle buddy. If you're not, feel free to call 800-854-7771, option 3, and they'll assist you with getting with a battle buddy. And yeah, I thank you for your time and hope to see you soon.
Thanks, guys.